Welcome to today's live stream. I'm Yovi Witt, and I'm the host of today's show. And we are getting all situated and all ready. I'm still trying to figure out how to go live on Instagram. Somehow that doesn't want to connect as well as I always hope it would. That shouldn't be distracting us longer. So on Twitter and on YouTube, you can join, or is right now where it's streaming. The other platforms I'm trying to add as I keep going. Today is the second episode of our live stream, so it's a bit still in the build-up stage where I don't quite know what specifically will always be happening. I'm still trying to get comfortable, get back into the rhythm and routine of scheduling out the live streams, of showing up, of presenting in front of the live stream with all the different locations on my screens. So I'm sorry. You can remind me in the chat though if I'm looking too much all over the place, because I have the chat windows open. Today, we want to look at growing your business through clear communication, because too often we've seen it where people are trying to be clever and are trying to be funny, but they lose everybody in the process because nobody understands anymore what they're talking about. And that's rather a big issue. And that's something we'll discuss. We'll discuss also a book that I finished reading, That Will Never Work, by Mark Randolph, the founder of Netflix. So that's definitely an interesting book that I read, and I'll share a few highlights with you on that as we keep going. So get your notebooks ready, sip of your tea, and let's go. As usual, we'll start with the builder's brick, with the lesson for all the businesses out there to keep growing well. And that's the lesson of clear beats perfect. Clear beats clever. I had another one, done beats perfect, which I also talked about, I think last time or in another video that's coming up right now on YouTube. Clear beats clever is a concept that took me quite a while to understand, because I've done so many websites, so many product launches, so many different things that I've launched and created. And I tried always to be clever. That's just also, I guess, my nature, that I try to be funny, that I try to be clever. And so I over-engineer my ideas. I over-engineer my processes, that they become so complex that nobody can actually follow me anymore. And that's where this problem always occurred, that whenever I asked for feedback for my landing page, I got the answer, well, can you make it more easier to understand? And so that summarizes the idea of being clear. You need to be clear in what you say. You need to be clear in the words you use, how you pronounce them if you're going on camera, how you write them if you have written words and texts. And so there are a few different elements. Also, especially the point of what's in the background when you're filming. What are you visualizing on top? And that's also something that I'm trying to redo now, my thumbnails, because I try to be too often clever, and that kind of got me lost. So then I tried to be too clear, but I wasn't clear, I was simple. And so that was another lesson I learned in the process, that being clear does not mean being simple, because I tried for a while to not have any thumbnails and just use a whatever YouTube recommends me to use for a thumbnail. And that also didn't quite work out. So, number one of what you can do is to cut everything that is not essential for the message you're trying to portray. So, today's thumbnail for the live stream is already quite simple because I'm trying to cut back and actually do what I teach of being clear with what the thumbnail is about. I'm trying not to overwhelm people with putting so much text, so many words on the screen. And so I try to only have 3 words, a picture of me, and that's it. Keep it really simple to hone in on what actually matters in the video and to give it really simple, understandable ways. So, number 2, what you can do actually is to simple down your colors and simple down your designs. Too often we think that adding more and more and more and more is actually how we get more professional. When I think, like, I just did another study on thumbnails because now I'm in the work, as I said, to redesign mine. And what I found is that the thumbnails that speak to me the most have the most simplistic design there is. Simplistic design means being clear, not just using anything. And so often, a clear thumbnail takes more work and more effort to create than it would creating a more complex thumbnail. And that's quite interesting to me, how much of a difference that makes. And so that's just more and more the ideas that I see working out quite well, is actually using almost no extras on, like, texture or all of those design elements, and just sticking to simple colors. Number 3 that you can do is to be direct in how you communicate with clients, but also with viewers and videos. And so that's a hard lesson to learn, a hard skill to master. I've filmed now over 400 YouTube videos, and yet I'm still struggling to be direct in what I say. I tend to go on and ramble and get sidetracked, where I should learn to just take a pause, think about what I'm going to say, and then speak about it. Because it's actually not that difficult to think out and take a pause when you don't know what to say next. And that's where I get the M's and the U's that are actually just fillers, because they're telling you that I'm thinking about what I'm saying next. And that's not being helpful, and that's not being direct. That's actually just being wasteful with your time or the viewer's time. So that's what I'm trying to work towards, becoming more direct as a speaker, to becoming more clear in my articulation, in the way I present myself in social media, in my newsletter, or in my landing pages, in my courses, in my coaching calls. I want to share with you the catch of the week. And the catch of the week is an equation that took me a long time to figure out. And I share it with you to hopefully speed up your process yourself. And it is a equation that speaks to the situation of, or to the debate of quality versus quantity. I've done so much research, so much thinking about that subject, to now I think I have it dialed in. So listen closely. Quantity times quality times time equals success. What does that mean? It means success comes from quantity as well as quality as well as time. Doing something once doesn't mean that you're an expert. Doing something 100 times but never learning means that you're also not an expert. Doing something 100 times is a quantity. Then getting better at it 1% every video I upload is quality. So 100 times 1 or times 1.1 times 2 is the factor of quality to our applied quantity. And then we also need time, because some things we can't learn or can't differentiate if we don't have time. So I don't know if my video or my live stream is bad if I don't get yet the analytics if it actually is good or bad. And so what I've seen often is that you upload one video, you upload 5 videos in like a week, and then you're like, I uploaded everything. I did everything I can. Well, that's technically true. You still don't know if the videos are good or bad because you don't have the time it takes for feedback to arrive. And yeah, some things are faster on feedback, but some things take a long time to get feedback on. And so that's why I put the time also in the equation. Because I've done a lot of thinking about it, I came up also with the part of excellence, because a lot of people say like, oh yeah, you can reach 100% to be like to perfection. Well, quality is definitely a percentage matter. I don't think you can ever reach 100% in any given task. And so perfection is a lie in that sense. And so for me, this equation applies to excellence. And excellence is to keep doing more, to keep doing better, and to never stopping. So excellence is to do more, to do it better, and to never stop. Those 3 things make what excellence means, and excellence is applied to the equation to get success. And so if you're striving to do more, you're striving after quantity. If you're striving to get better, you're striving after quality. And if you're striving for time, means that you will never quit and that you never stop. And that means that you can essentially never fail, because following excellence means that you'll sooner or later end up with success. And it's just a matter of time, repetition, and learning in the process. Today's anchored in the word is anchored in Job. Job chapter 1, verse 21. It's in the Old Testament, and it reads as following: Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. That verse is dear to me because of a few things. I think there's a lot of depth in this verse. So the Lord gave means that you've been blessed and you have more than enough, because at any given moment in time, the Lord gave to you what you have. And so you should feel thankful and you should be happy, which means blessed be the name of the Lord. So if you have plenty, you should give thanks and praise and honor and glory to God. Now, when we are all happy and we have everything we need, so we're on the side that God has blessed us with many things, we often tend to forget to be thankful because we always want more. And that's the human attitude towards greed, where we can't have enough and we can't be happy with the amount that we actually have. And so we tend to not stick with it or not be reminded of being grateful. Now, the second side of this verse is the Lord has taken away. And that's something where Job is what Job currently experienced in the book, where he had lost his family, he lost his wife, he lost his kid, he lost everything that's dear to him. And in that circumstance, he's now realizing that God has taken everything away that he had. And that's also hard to swallow sometimes. And so over the last years, I've lost my mother. We've had a miscarriage, and we had and my grandmother died, and all of those things are situations in life where you feel at rock bottom, and where it just is hard to just keep going sometimes. And even in those situations, and that's the hard reality of this verse, that even in those situations, and you can say that Job lost a lot more than probably I did, he still comes to the conclusion that God is to be blessed, to be giving glory to the name of God, even when you just lost everything. And I think that's also another thing where I just need to remind myself constantly. And so I wanted to also share those thoughts with you, how they apply to me in my week to week, is that I am reminded that I have enough. I am reminded that even if I lose everything, I can still be grateful in what I have. And that no matter what happens, God is still good, and God is still, the glory still belongs to God. So that's anchored in the word for this week. Next up is my mid-roll ad. So this show is sponsored by myself. I'm running my own show for my own business. And so if you want to receive my ideas straight into your inbox on a daily, you can sign up with the link in the description below for my newsletter to come and be part of the growing family and get all the stories, all the lessons right in your inbox when they happen, to not miss growing yourself. Because all I'm trying to do is to help you become a better man, a better father, a better husband, by becoming also a present provider overall. And that's the best way I can help you, is through my newsletter, to give you ideas, to give you tips, to give you tricks, to give you ideas that come straight into your inbox. My newsletter is handwritten. It is short, so you can read it with your morning coffee in 60 to 90 seconds, because I don't want to waste your time. I just want to give you the information and the ideas that really matter. Let's get back to our show, and it's time for the book stack. As the book stack this week, I have That Will Never Work by Mark Randolph. He is the founder of Netflix, and he wrote his book. It's a little bit like, so it's not really a teaching book. It's more him thinking and telling the stories that happened in the beginning of Netflix that he can remember. And so it's not, he said he's not trying to have exact recollection of all things. So there could be things that might need an update or need to be checked, but it's still interesting to read, to see how he felt and what was going on throughout the years, because I think that's often the part where we see on YouTube and on social media all the polished ideas and the polished highlights of everything, but not many actually share the downsides of the hard moments in business too. And so I really appreciate the book for that reason. And I thought I would share one idea that I will explain why it's so helpful. So they were discussing, so to catch you up to what's happening until this moment. So they're looking for a beta name for Netflix. Before it became Netflix, they needed a name. And so they were looking for different names that were as bad as possible, because that means that you can't keep your beta name and you actually need to think about getting a different name. So Kibble had been my idea. It came from an old advertising and marketing adage. It doesn't make a difference how good the ads are if the dogs don't eat the food. The idea was no matter how much sizzle you'd given the steak, no matter how well you sold it, nothing mattered if the product was lackluster. It doesn't matter how brilliant your ad campaign for Alpo is if your dog won't eat it. I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs really need to take to heart, that it doesn't matter how good you present it online. It doesn't matter how well you sell yourself. If your clients actually don't love it, it's going to die. Because if the product you're selling is not actually solving a real pain and solving a real problem, it is definitely bound to fail. And there's nothing you can do to fix that. So takeaway number 1 from this book is it'll always look like it won't work until it does. And that's encouraging to know, because we're always doubting, or I'm always doubting myself if I can pull this idea off, if I can get it to work, if it's actually a good idea, if it's worthwhile doing. There's so many ideas that I'm always like, oh, will it work? Will it work? And that's kind of the main theme of the book, where he's like, we weren't sure that Netflix would actually come alive the way it did, because there were so many problems along the way that we didn't anticipate. And yet it still worked out, because it just worked out in the end, because they tried so many things that in the end it was bound to succeed. Takeaway number 2 from me from this book was, every idea is a bad idea, so you need to find the least bad idea to start. And I know that I've recorded another video on that topic, where I talk about the idea of, or the concept of the perfect idea, where so many young entrepreneurs with their first idea are like, this is it. This is going to be huge. It's going to be the unicorn startup that everybody wants to invest in. And so they don't tell it to anybody, because they think the idea is so precious. And in reality, every idea is a bad idea until it's not. And so just take whatever idea you have, try to figure out what the least bad idea is, and then just run with that one, because you can always change it if you go, but you need to first get going and think about which one is actually the least bad idea. Takeaway number 3 is always push a little more on what's possible. And I think that's so interesting, because Netflix actually started out selling DVDs. Then they were renting DVDs, and DVDs just had come out. So, or they were thinking about renting VCR tapes, which would be way too expensive and way too big to ship. And so when they had like, oh yeah, CDs might work, so they shipped a CD. We're like, oh yeah, that would work. So they bought all the DVDs in the beginning, and when they saw that streaming would work, they opted for streaming. But it wasn't until later that they actually got that to work. And so it's always trying to stay on top of your game. And so that's also the thing, I think, with AI now. We don't know yet what it will all do. What we do know is that it will change many industries, and it will have a huge impact. And so we just need to stick with it and actually make a difference by going in and pushing what's the limit right now. And that's, I think, again, the point, going back to the perfection. The idea of perfection is always one that's in the right now, but time is changing. And so what's perfect today is not going to be perfect in 5 years, because standards will change. We'll have more and more aspects that will make it easier, make it faster, make it quicker to iterate, to do it better. Like, nobody was thinking that it would be easy to film a podcast or to stream it. And now we're sitting here, I can stream to multiple platforms. And so just that idea is so huge to think about. And so I think that's definitely something that I took away as an encouragement also from this book. Um, so if that sounds interesting to you, you can pick it up and read it for yourself. Now I want to enter the Ask Yovi question, where it's time for a few Q&A sessions. And so I thought about a few questions that I get asked regularly. And one is, how do I find my niche? First of all, I think that finding your niche is something that is neither a topic nor it's your person. Your niche is always trying to understand who it is that you're trying to serve and then serve them in the best way possible. And so for me, that's definitely within business, faith, and family. For me, it's with fathers, with believers. I like to work with them. I enjoy working for like businesses. So those are definitely parts. And so now I'm just going back and saying, what can I all solve? What can I all figure out to get better, to make it easier, to actually help you out more? And so that becomes my niche, where I'm on the pursuit of understanding whatever problem I can solve that makes it easier and faster for you to go where you want to go, to start your business, to grow your business, to scale your business. And so that's how I found my niche. It was over a lot of trial and error. I tried many different things over years. And so that's, I think, definitely the way I would go again, is to just start somewhere and take it from there. How do I become a full-time creator? I know that that question is asked so many times on the internet, where we all think like, oh yeah, we want to become a full-time creator. And I think the idea of full-time creator is a good one. It's actually a bad business model, though. I've observed it over the years, and I've tried being a full-time creator. The issue is just the numbers are always against you, because if you're growing on one platform and you're growing well on that platform, you're still dependent on the platform. So if YouTube decides to take away my YouTube account, then I'm gone, because I'm not actually a full-time creator anymore, because all my audience is gone. And so that's where I think it's definitely a risk of the platforms of just renting your audience, because you don't actually own the distribution channel. While you own your YouTube channel, you don't own YouTube as a platform. And so I think, to me, it was a nice idea, a nice to have, but it's actually really hard to do in a good manner, to where you're actually able to make a living full time with being a full-time creator, if that makes sense. How do I get better? What to do when I'm not growing? And I think we all experience that. I mean, I'm also still stuck in the newbie game on YouTube. I mean, on all social medias, on my personal profiles. And I think it's just the point of iterating. So sometimes it's important to take a step back, to look at your situation, and then to go and attack it again. But that time you can attack it from a different angle, and you can try to go about it a different route. And so I think that's definitely a part that sometimes we get so stuck in the, I need to push out the consistency, that we forget to actually get better at it. And so I've seen a lot of YouTube channels that tried the same thing over and over again, and it didn't work. And so they keep trying the same thing over and over again. And I think that's definitely stopping a lot of people from growing, because they don't actually change up what they do. And so, I mean, that's also part of my story here, is that, sure, I started on YouTube, I filmed videos, I did shorts, and now I'm trying live streams. And so we'll see from where it goes from here. I don't know quite how well it's going to go. I don't know where I will go, but I know that if I keep trying and if I keep leveling up my game, I'll get better eventually. And at some point, I will make it, because when I keep trying, I'll keep improving. And that's again back to the question of the success equation of quantity times quality times time equals success. So if I keep trying, meaning the quantity, if I keep learning from what I do, means quality, then I definitely will learn over time to get better and to do enough to get found. So that's what I got for you today so far. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. You can also DM me if I'm not live. And I'm definitely here to help you out um to help you get better. And so I'm just excited for you to be here. And then I'll say my goodbyes. So keep chopping wood, being awesome, and until next time. Bye bye.